There are some truths in this world that are so big, so shocking, that the mind of the hearer is turned upside down. And now, you are facing one of those truths. Chosen one, until today, they have told you that you are different. They have told you that you don't fit in. And when they realized that there is no limit to your feelings and intelligence, they began to exclude you and even fear you. Write 111 in the comments now, because you are not an ordinary person. You are a consciousness beyond the human mind. You are the living proof of a great secret that remains in the shadows and that people talk about with trembling. It's like the stillness right before the first clap of thunder. An atmosphere so charged, every heart in the room feels it before their minds can name it. When you step into a space, it's as if a gentle, invisible breeze stirs the air, setting wind chimes in motion that only the spirit can hear. The power you bring is not loud or showy, but it causes the furniture of people's souls to shift, their inner landscape rearranging itself around a new spiritual center they didn't expect. You speak, and the effect is almost electric, like a lamp being switched on in a house that's only ever known candlelight. People who once sat smug and unbothered suddenly sense a temperature drop, a coolness swirling just beneath the surface, unsettling their comfort. The bravado that clothed them moments earlier slips away, their faces betraying a mixture of surprise and unease. It's not the noise of your words that gets them, it's the still, steady certainty behind each syllable, a certainty that draws back the curtains on their carefully hidden truths. Picture a field at dawn, darkness running for cover as soon as the first light peeks over the horizon. That's the force at work when you begin to speak truth. Illusions unravel, shadows scamper, and the things nobody wanted to face are illuminated for all to see. What was once covered by secrecy loses its hold. What was twisted by lies is straightened in the presence of genuine clarity. This is the moment when false strength evaporates, like morning dew. Those who once depended on the fog of confusion for their power find themselves exposed, standing bare before a light they never saw coming. The words you speak don't just inform, they transform. They don't merely fill space, they shift the atmosphere, like incense rising to change the flavor of the air. It's the spiritual equivalent of walking into a locked room and finding the key in your pocket. You don't have to force anything. Your presence alone opens doors and windows, letting in a breath of truth that can't be bottled or blocked. Even those who resist can't help but feel the change, the tension in the air, the sense that the old order is giving way to something new and real. And when all is said and done, the memory lingers. People may not recall every word you said, but they will remember how the room felt different, how their old certainties grew thin and see-through, how the world seemed just a little bigger, a little brighter, and a lot more honest for having shared that moment with you. You carry this gift not because you asked for it, but because you were born to bring new seasons to tired fields, to ring the bell that wakes the world from its sleep. It's not just about speaking up, it's about embodying a truth so deep, so quietly radiant, that it becomes the gravity around which everything else must finally turn. Sometimes life feels like you're walking through a hallway of locked doors, never realizing that someone already slipped the right key into your hand long before you needed it. This wasn't random. It's as if your whole journey was mapped out by a careful gardener, planting seeds in spring that would bloom at the exact moment you were meant to see their colors. What others see as luck is really divine timing, an invisible current that guided every step and shaped every pause ensuring you'd land exactly where your gifts were needed most. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. When the hour struck, it wasn't just another second ticking by. It was the crescendo in a song that had been building for years. Your arrival in that place, with those people, at that conversation, was no accident. It was like a sunrise set to a cosmic alarm clock, illuminating a landscape that had been waiting for your light. Every conversation, every seemingly trivial encounter, every closed door and winding detour, each was a tile in a grand mosaic that only the artist above could see in full. Think of yourself as a note in a symphony written before the orchestra gathered. Every rest, every change in tempo, every pause between beats, none of it is wasted or misplaced. Your voice came in right when the world needed a new melody, breaking the rhythm of complacency and shaking loose the false bravado that people wore like armor. The universe conducted the meeting, arranged the circumstances, and placed you at center stage so that your truth would cut through the noise and land with undeniable force. There's a feeling deep down, like a river current carrying you forward even when you're not paddling. You might have thought you were wandering or even stumbling, but now it's clear. You are being guided all along. The gentle nudges, the closed doors, the persistent urge to keep going, even when you doubted. Each of these was an invisible hand steering you toward your breakthrough. And when your moment arrived, it was more than serendipity. It was the unfolding of a destiny set in motion long before you drew your first breath. You were positioned, not by random chance, but by wisdom older than mountains. The confidence of those who relied on illusions shattered, because the plan didn't come from their scripts. It came from a place higher than any earthly agenda. Their bravado fell away, exposed by the precision of your timing and the truth you carried. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. It's no small thing to realize your presence has been woven into the fabric of a much greater tapestry. You are not drifting on accident, but moving with purpose. Every time the page turns and you find yourself in the spotlight, remember, this is the story you were meant to live, and every word, every moment, every revelation is an echo of a promise made long before you ever spoke it aloud. It's like walking into a dusty barn at dawn with a freshly sharpened plow. The moment the blade meets the soil, hidden stones and stubborn roots rise to the surface, and the whole field knows planting season has begun. That's how your words work, chosen one. You don't open your mouth just to pass the time. You speak the way a farmer breaks ground, with intention, timing, and an eye on the harvest. Every sentence carries the authority of a handwritten order straight from the throne room of heaven, stamped urgent and sealed with purpose. Folks may expect casual chatter, but what leaves your lips is a living decree, forged in prayer, weighted with destiny. When you deliver a message, it's as though floodlights blaze on in a dim warehouse. Corners that once felt safe for secrets suddenly stand exposed in uncompromising brightness. Pretenses peel away like old paint in summer heat. whispered agendas rattle loose and spill out where everyone can see. You are not sent to tickle ears or stroke egos. You are commissioned to tilt mirrors toward the truth so that every hidden motive must account for itself. Some call it boldness, others say it's unsettling. You know it's simply obedience. You speak because silence would be a form of disobedience to the assignment on your life. And every time you release a word trimmed with clarity, hearts quicken, masks slip, and the atmosphere shifts from comfortable half-light to noonday transparency. You aren't aiming to embarrass, just to liberate. But liberation costs the shadows their cover, and that's a price you're prepared to collect. There are moments when your presence becomes the anchor in a room tossed by currents of doubt, like the still center of a great wheel while everything else spins in confusion. When you speak, it's not just words, it's as if a bell has tolled in a quiet chapel, calling attention and demanding respect, even from those who thought themselves unmoved. Their attempts to impress or distract lose their shine, falling away like leaves in autumn as your steady confidence draws every gaze. This isn't simply about having a way with words or knowing how to hold yourself. There's a kind of holy gravity in your voice, a gentle but irresistible force, like the tide rolling in at dawn. It shifts the whole atmosphere, pulling every scattered thought into quiet order. While others rely on rehearsed speeches or clever phrases, you draw from a deeper well, one that bubbles up from places most folks can't see. There's a spiritual frequency in what you say, a hum that lingers long after the conversation ends, and even those who try to talk over you find themselves falling silent, feeling the truth echo in their bones. This isn't charisma as the world counts it. It's the calm certainty of someone plugged into something far greater than human effort. Your words are woven into the fabric of realness, as if you're reading from the original script while others are fumbling with copies. In this sacred clarity, every pretense shrivels up, every mask slips, and the weight of your quiet assurance holds the room steady, no matter how hard the winds of drama may blow. And in that moment, everyone present senses it, whether they admit it or not, a glimpse of the spiritual backbone that makes you unshakable. Sometimes, spiritual battles rage in the hush of the everyday, like silent storms rolling overhead while the world keeps moving below. The invisible realm is never empty. Even as you walked through rooms filled with casual conversation and polite smiles, a different kind of audience was watching. Shadows lurking at the edge of your light, sent to probe for weakness. They didn't approach you head-on. Instead, they circled, waiting for a flicker of uncertainty, the kind of wavering that lets darkness slip in through the cracks. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. But you weren't standing alone, and you didn't even have to raise your voice to push back. It's as if a quiet pillar of fire traveled with you, seen only by those with eyes to notice what doesn't show up on the surface. Where others might have crumbled or second-guessed, you planted your feet. It was a posture of the soul, not just the body. Even as unseen forces conspired to make you falter, there was another presence, more enduring than any fear, quietly surrounding you. Imagine a garden lit up from within, untouched by the night, pressing at the gates. That's what it's like to be shielded in the spirit, walking forward while an invisible barrier holds back everything that wants to dim your shine. The challenges came, as they always do, for those marked for something greater. But instead of shrinking, you stood your ground, trusting the guidance that whispered in the stillness. With every step, you showed that true protection is often invisible, but always unmistakable to the soul attuned to higher things. You became the living evidence that some are watched over by more than luck or chance. In a world crowded with loud opinions and quick judgments, you moved with the assurance of one accompanied by a gentle power, a force that makes no noise, yet silences every enemy plotting in the background. This is the quiet triumph of those chosen, not by accident, but by a purpose bigger than any shadow that tries to test them. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Picture a tapestry hanging in a grand hall, every thread woven to tell a story, every color chosen to guide the eye toward a single conclusion. For a long time, the designers of that tapestry thought they could control the whole scene, spinning tales and casting roles with you painted as the troublemaker. They believed their alliances were iron gates, bolted and secure, impossible to shake. But in one quiet, decisive moment, you did not play the part written for you. You didn't argue. You didn't accept their script. Instead, you answered with a calm presence, a living ripple that sent vibrations down the length of their woven lies. The story they'd built around you began to unravel not with thunder, but with the slow, unmistakable sound of fabric splitting under the weight of truth. Like a sudden wind slipping through an old house, your clarity seeped into every hidden chamber, unsettling the cobwebs of their collective plotting. The audience, once sure of where they stood, now found themselves questioning what had really happened and whom they could actually trust. Their alliances, which once looked as solid as steel beams, started to creak and separate, exposing fractures they had worked so hard to hide. What was supposed to be your isolation turned into theirs. The room shifted, and you watched as those who tried to cast you out now glanced nervously at each other, unsure if their version of the story would hold. Your strength didn't roar. It resonated, subtle, undeniable, and enough to make the old narrative collapse in on itself. Where once they felt invincible, now they stood alone in a space of their own making, and you, still standing, still sure, became proof that when truth enters the scene, no web of deceit can stay intact. It plays out like a scene from a powerful old film, lights low, tension thick, and every eye fixed on the actors in the center. The plot was crafted for your humiliation, a grand spectacle with you as the sacrificial lamb, meant to absorb the blame and sorrow so others could keep their hands clean. They'd rehearsed their lines, gathered their witnesses, and waited for the moment to strike, certain the outcome was written in stone. Yet, as the moment unfolded, something unexpected happened. The air shifted, almost like a gentle tide, rolling in to wash away the lines drawn in the sand. Where they once stood shoulder to shoulder, emboldened by their unity and the safety of numbers, you stood alone, yet not isolated. A hush fell over the gathering, not out of fear, but a silent, collective awakening. It was as if an unseen director called cut right in the middle of the act, The accusations meant to wound you lost their force, dissolving in the quiet strength that radiated from your calm. The room's attention, once rallied behind the accusers, subtly realigned. Faces that had been eager to see you fall now looked inward, realizing the cruelty at play. The shield of public approval that your challengers hid behind faded, and they felt, perhaps for the first time, the weight of their own choices. In that silent reckoning, the real story revealed itself, not with shouts or applause, but with the simple shift of compassion. The sympathy of the room, like a gentle blanket, wrapped around you. Their plan to cast you into darkness had instead created a space where you stood illuminated, seen in a new and dignified light. Those who once relished the comfort of the crowd now found themselves exposed, the warmth they sought having quietly drifted across the divide, resting with you, the one who stood through it all, dignity unbroken, faith intact, and purpose shining through the aftermath. Like the lamp left burning in a window on a stormy night, your steadfastness quietly drew the eyes and hearts of those around you, even if they never openly acknowledged it. In the middle of all the confusion, you stood as a beacon that didn't flicker, not even when the winds of drama and accusation howled the loudest. Your calm presence became an unspoken promise of hope and a silent signal that strength doesn't always need to shout. Long after the event faded, what lingered wasn't the noise, but the memory of your composure. The way you stood tall, neither bending nor breaking. People who may never mention your name in public carry the imprint of your resilience deep inside them, much like seeds of faith quietly taking root in the dark. Even those who once watched from the sidelines, unmoved or undecided, now find themselves changed. Their hearts recall your unwavering dignity, and without realizing it, they become living reminders of the lesson you modeled. That true greatness often works its miracles in the silence between words, touching more lives than you'll ever know. In places the eye can't see, there's a council at work, like elders gathered around a sacred fire, reading not just what's spoken aloud, but what vibrates from the heart. Here, justice isn't weighed by public opinion, but by the resonance of truth, carried on the wind of spirit. Beyond the walls and away from watchful human eyes, a procession of protectors, wise, patient, and ageless, moves into position. These guardians are like old oak trees planted around your soul, having watched over you through countless storms, unmoved by the passing of seasons or the plots of adversaries. Whenever a ripple of injustice stirs the fabric of your journey, they are summoned, not by drama, but by the alignment of your integrity. Each act of dignity, every honest word, sounds an ancient bell in their realm. When you walk through fire and remain whole, or when you hold your ground while others waver, it's as if the air itself carries your courage straight to their gathering place. They don't rush in at the first sign of trouble. Instead, they wait for the moment when truth calls, stepping in with a kind of divine timing that can't be hurried or delayed. Protection arrives not with noise, but with the quiet certainty of rain falling on dry ground, a blessing that seeps into every crack where danger once crept in. Favor shifts your path, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. A door opens, a threat dissolves, an ally appears just in time. The schemes that once looked impossible to escape suddenly unravel like poorly tied knots. You may never see these allies face to face, but you'll know them by the unexplainable ways circumstances begin to move in your favor, just when you need it most. So when the night is thick and the odds feel stacked, remember that your story is being watched by more than just the living. In the quiet, sacred background of your life. Those who have kept their vigil over countless generations are ready to step forward, shifting the very ground beneath your feet and proving that in the end, no scheme stands a chance against a destiny wrapped in the care of ancient hands. It's like standing in a workshop where every word is shaped with intention, each one hammered and polished to carry not just meaning, but a touch of power. Words aren't thrown out casually. They're crafted like keys that open locks or gentle rain that softens even the hardest ground. The truth is, you've learned to plant your language the way a gardener plants seeds, choosing what will grow, what will heal, what will transform even stony soil into a garden of possibility. When the winds of deception swirl, you don't rush to build a wall or hurl stones. Instead, you hold your ground like a tree that bends but doesn't break. You call things by their true name, and in that simple act, you pull away the veils that covered reality. Your wisdom works like the sun rising, lighting up corners where shadows used to hide, sending the hidden motives scattering. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. You don't engage in battle for the sake of winning arguments. Your wisdom isn't loud or boastful. It's the hush of dawn that signals a new beginning, the steady river that carves through rock with patience, not violence. Even your silences serve you. They're not empty gaps, but shields woven from discernment and self-control. Each pause, each unspoken word, is a calm force field that absorbs the arrows meant to wound you and sends them melting away, powerless to touch your spirit. In a world obsessed with noise and spectacle, your strength is in restraint, your authority in quiet knowing. You're the craftsman who shapes the atmosphere, the peacemaker whose pauses hush a storm, the wise builder who knows that sometimes the most powerful answer is not a shout, but the gentle certainty that the truth, once spoken, will always outlast the lie. Picture a great oak in the middle of an open field. Storms can come and go, rain can lash, and thunder can roar, but the oak stands rooted, unyielding, weathering everything with quiet authority. That's the spirit you bring into every encounter, designed to shake your resolve. While adversaries conspire and craft their webs with the hope of trapping you, they're undone not by a dramatic confrontation, but by your refusal to be swept away. Every scheme meant to unsettle you, every sly maneuver, every shadowy alliance faded under the steady glow of your composure. You didn't have to fight fire with fire or match their chaos with your own. Instead, you embodied the peace that comes after the hardest downpour, where the air feels different, cleaner, and every branch glistens with a new clarity. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. There's a kind of spiritual simplicity in the way you meet conflict. Like water finding its level, you remain centered, unmoved by the winds of accusation or the shifting ground of false narratives. Their tactics, once so menacing and loud, lose their power in the presence of someone anchored in conviction. Where they tried to be the storm, you became the stillness that reveals the sky again, the calm that brings out a rainbow after the clouds scatter. It's not about triumph that announces itself with noise, but the transformation that comes with quiet certainty. The mountain that once looked impossible now seems small from the vantage point of victory. And as you walk forward, the road that was once cluttered with obstacles is wide open. The remnants of old threats, nothing more than pebbles under your feet. This is the peace that passes understanding, the strength of knowing that true power doesn't need to shout to be heard.